Welcome to the Creative Bias Podcast. It's February 1st. Thanks for tuning in.
What we want to talk about in this episode sort of came to be because of something that Darla said to me a few days ago, and also a text message I received from a friend and former colleague of mine. And if you don't mind, Darla, I am going to um, read the text message I got that sort of inspired some of my thinking around what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Um, because let's see here. Somebody said that they texted me and they said, I just want to tell you that I really believe that outside of one-on-ones, people brainstorming live is the most ridiculous use of time in corporate America. And I had thoughts about that, but I want to go to what you said to me about meetings, and then let's tie some of that together.
My God, no, I love a brainstorm. To be honest with you, I feel like what we just did was a brainstorm in that it's just a sharing of ideas.
So
To your,
there's brainstorming and there's trauma dumping and there's all kinds of different things.
it can be both.
Many storms. But I have thoughts on like, are brainstorms good or bad? But I want to start with what you were sort of teeing up earlier this week, talking about meetings and your philosophy on meetings and some of the other things that you see in your life as a project manager.
First of all, my flabbers are gasted. Just so the listeners know. Steve did not tell me what his inspo was. Like, we kind of like to go into this with a little bit of mystery so we have like real-time reactions to things. And yeah,
Accurate.
I'm flabbergasted. I can't wait to talk about this. Yeah, so what came up for me is, and this is not the first time that this has come up for me in the like several years that I have been PMing. There's this like corporate cultural phenomenon of people getting so fucking paranoid or like protective and touchy about meetings
Yep.
and how they're set up and who is there and who is not there and who should be there and who should not be there and who is leading and who is making decisions and who has control. And I think that that's ultimately what it comes down to
For sure.
is how much control do I have in this 30-minute span?
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I
So
wanted to talk about.
when you told me that, I was like, first of all, I agree that meetings often become tools for people to assert their authority, assert
Mhm.
their control. But my question for you is, as a PM, are there
Mhm.
different flavors of that? Are there some
Mhm.
meetings that are overwrought and some meetings that are underdone and underbaked and underconcepted? Are there different archetypes of meetings?
Sure. I think definitely because there are different types of companies. And I think I come from a background previously where it was ultimately a team of hundreds of people that were working across 4 agencies as one under one umbrella. It was very fucking complex, right? So, no, we're probably not gonna have 5 people on a meeting for a deliverable that requires 4 agencies to input into the deliverable,
Yeah.
right? Whereas now I work on a team of maybe 20 people or like 25 people, and it's a creative driven, production driven, talent driven sort of work, not media and tactics and all that stuff. So that even though it's a smaller team, still requires the majority of it because everyone just has their own role.
Okay.
So, and we do like the first meeting we have is typically a brainstorm for a creative
Sure.
pitch.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think it depends, and I think it's important to designate someone who makes that decision, or like a small group of people who makes that decision for the wider team. So there is no like who's on first, what's on second, who's on third
Right.
type situation.
Okay. I want to get into this with you though, because I'm not a project manager. If anything, like I'm probably closest to a creative director in a brainstorm meeting. So I want to get the PM take on this because I think the creatives take on
Are
a
you not also a
brainstorm.
cultural strat?
I'm a strategist. I understand culture, but I also like probably the last 4 or 5 years of my career, maybe even more than that.
Okay.
The thing I got called on to do most was like ideate and come up with ideas and
Right.
brainstorm.
Creative. Okay.
Um, and I think creatives want really tight brainstorms,
Mhm.
aka only them.
You are
And so
correct. That has
and
been
so I know that pain. I know that vibe. My question to you is, as a PM, when you're in a brainstorm, who are the people that you frequently see that you're like, "Oh my god," and who are the people that you frequently see where you're like, "Now that's refreshing," and who are the people that you are like, "Why are they here?"
I'm gonna say something maybe not
Don't
expecting me to say. I actually don't feel that way about anyone because if I'm being authentic to the idea that I keep fucking pushing, especially on this podcast, and we did with Doyle as well, I think a good
Yep,
idea can come from anywhere.
for sure. It can.
I think that if you work there and you work on the business, you deserve to be in the room if you want to be. It's just like when you're in school and you want to like audit a class to listen or to learn. How else are people supposed to like get better at if they want to do something else?
Mhm,
You know what I mean? And in
mhm.
that way, I feel like it can be educational. It might not contribute to the bottom line or the deliverable itself. God forbid someone just wants to learn for the sake of learning at work.
Mhm.
But like that's low key, like secretly my view on it. Um, but in practice, I would say I'm more so underwhelmed by the people who are not creatives or just like underwhelmed by seasoned people
Got it.
sometimes.
So you hate old people is what you're telling
No,
me.
no, 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 no. People who have I completely nothing to do with age,
I know.
having to do with like how long they've been at the company.
Got it.
There's a siren confirming
The
what I'm
sirens
saying.
the old people
The
police are
sirens
coming for you because you
No, like, it's because they're so comfortable where they're at. You know what
Sure.
I'm you hear where I'm going with
I
this?
hear
It's
you. I do.
not that they're not good at their job or they're not capable. If someone stays somewhere too long, they can become stagnant.
For sure.
And
100%.
so they don't really come to the table with, like, never been done befores, you know what I mean? Even if that's the ask. They're literally Googling something before the meeting that
By
I
the
could have
way,
fucking found out by myself. I mean, I feel like that's a natural thing, right? It's like you do something for long enough, you're not gonna be, like, as fresh and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about it as you were when you first walked in the door.
yeah,
I don't think that's the case for everyone, like, I wouldn't say that's the case for you. I
right.
always felt that you were inspired with the work that you were presenting.
Sometimes.
I just feel like a lot of the times people aren't, or they're just trying to get it done or just trying to get through the meeting. And given the conversation we just had, who
Yeah.
can blame them?
Yeah. Well,
But
and there's
from a
another
creative
wrinkle to
point of view,
that.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
No,
I
I
didn't
was
mean to
just
cut
gonna
you off.
say, from a creative point of view, like, I get why that can be frustrating and why you wouldn't just wouldn't wanna waste your time if that's all you're gonna get, because then you can just do it yourself.
Right. Well, a couple things. I think the whole like some people are going to meetings and they just Google the thing and whatever. And that does happen a lot. And I think that creativity in marketing is a very special blend of or strain of creativity because it's a game. You aren't actually rewarded for being creative. You're rewarded for coming up with the idea that the client wants to hear. And that is having a mental scheme of like what are the boxes I need to check. It has to be something that feels provocative but feels safe at the same time. It has to be something that feels like really of the moment. And I'm thinking specifically of like Samsung kind of creativity, but like there's a version of this for every client. And
Mhm.
then you go, okay, so I know they've done this, and this before, so it can't be any of those things, even if those things are the best things to do for the business. And so you find yourself playing a game. And that's why the longer a person is on the business, the more jaded they get because they are like, I know
True.
what the game is.
I
So
know what
I'm just
the
gonna
reaction's going
shout
to
out
be. That's
to
fair.
my long tenured creatives. May you live forever. I feel
Oh,
your
no,
pain, and
I'm
I get
not
it.
talking about
No. I know you're
creatives.
not. Oh,
I'm not talking about
like
creatives.
okay,
No, no, no. At no point was I talking about the
because I was gonna
creatives.
say creatives do that shit all the time.
No, 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 I wanna make that very clear. I wasn't talking about the creatives at all. No, because even the I will fully stand by, like, even the tenured creatives are super enthusiastic about their work, at least where like, it makes sense that anyone who's not creative
Yeah,
would come to the table that way only because they're purely looking at it from what you just said, the
game,
client
right?
win, the client buy-in. Creative's probably the last thing they're thinking about because it's not their wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, different departments in an organization will think about things differently. Finance will think about things differently than your insights team because your insights team wants the creative idea to have something to do with something that they believe is an insight.
Mhm.
But I want to go back a little bit to what you were talking about with sort of like flavors of meetings and structure, because I think that I have a way, I have a playbook for how to think about meetings.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with I actually did a consulting project for a client somewhat recently, and they brought me in to help reimagine the way they ran their IAT. And for anyone who doesn't know, an IAT is an integrated agency team. So basically, if you're a client, a big, huge company, you've got a creative agency and they make your advertising. I'm oversimplifying, but let's just follow me on this. They make your ads. Maybe they make a website for you, something like that. You've got a PR team, and they'll come up with partnerships and content stuff that isn't necessarily like paid to be placed. Sometimes it is. Then you've got a media team. They do media partnerships and they place your ads. And then you've got a product team, maybe. And then you've got all these different teams and these different agencies who come together and work on your business. And so it seems like a good idea to put them in a room on a regular basis so that they all know what each other are doing. And so I got brought in to work on this company's IAT and help them run it. And the first question I asked was, how do you do it now?
Mhm.
Seems like a logical question. And they said,
Mhm.
well, we get like, we get our IAT together like once a month and, they come together and share ideas. And I was like, well, how many people are involved in that? And they're like, I think it's about 30 or 40. And I was like, okay. I was like, and so that team, what part of your business are they working on? They're like, like all of it. And I was like, have you ever thought about maybe like breaking that big monster of a team into smaller, like action teams that like this group works on this initiative and this group works on that initiative. And
Yeah.
the guy was like, "Oh, wow, that's a good idea." And I'm like,
Groundbreaking.
"Okay." So the point of that is we have to be more strategic about meetings. They can't be
Mhm.
political statements. And so I have come up with something that I am calling the rafts approach to meetings.
Wait, can you
Rafts.
spell that? Like raft.
RAFTS, like a raft that you go down
Okay.
a whitewater thing with.
Not
Rafts.
raft.
Not rafts or rats or no, rafts. It's a bad acronym because it's hard to pronounce, but follow me because it makes a lot of sense. I'm going to explain. It's an acronym. Rafts.
Okay.
RAFTS. Rafts. So the
Got it.
R is you got to start with a reason. What is the reason for the meeting
Okay,
you're
Cardi
having?
B. Sorry.
Don't say Nikki.
No.
Okay, so the reason for your meeting. And it's like, what are you trying to solve in the meeting? Why does the meeting exist? This is a question I think you could ask yourself 1,000 times a day in any bit of business. What
I'm
are
literally
we
just, like,
doing?
picturing this as a
What are
presentation
we
right now, and a slide comes up with Cardi B that says, "What was the reason?"
doing?
Sorry, go. I just had to
I'm
say
going
it.
to have you design this deck. What's the reason for the meeting? So, like, is it a update meeting? An update meeting is where someone is making an announcement to a lot of other people. That's an update. Hey guys, I want to tell you about our financial performance in this past quarter. That's an update meeting. Then
Mhm.
there's a status meeting. Hey guys, we're all working on a project and we all touch different pieces of it. So we're going to share our status so we know where the project sits and where the dependencies are and what has to happen next and what has to happen before the thing that's going to happen next happens. So is it an update meeting? Is it a status meeting? Then you get into things like brainstorms. Brainstorm is a specific type of meeting. We have a problem, we have an opportunity to solve for, and we need to come up with ideas for how to do that. That's called a brainstorm.
Mhm.
Then the next thing after a brainstorm, once you have the idea and you're going to work on it, now you need a workshop. Okay, so we know that we're going to send this guy. I'm just going to pick on an imaginary idea that actually happened a week ago or so. This guy Alex Honnold, who's like a rock climber, he was in the movie Free Solo because he climbs without ropes.
Yeah.
He recently climbed all the way up to the top of Taipei 101, which is a
I
101
watched
story
it.
skyscraper. Okay, great. So you go, okay, so we know that we're going to send Alex up to the top of this building. Now we got to have a workshop to be like, okay, what are all the things we need to put in place? Who's going to be the host of this thing? Where are we going to put the cameras? Do we need to get some insurance probably? Do we have to talk to the people from the Taipei Chamber of Commerce? I don't know. I'm making stuff up. That's a workshop. And you probably have a bunch of those after you've had your brainstorm. So reason, all of that fits under reason for the meeting. Within the reason is what's the timing of whatever you are working on. So, like, this meeting shouldn't last forever. This meeting should run its course. Once the thing happens, it's over. We don't have these meetings anymore. What are the outputs of each meeting? Some agreements, some dependencies, some I need inputs from this person or that person, or I need a decision, right? Like sometimes meetings, the output is a decision. Okay, so that's the R. Imagine, if you will, a PowerPoint slide with Cardi B on it. The
Mhm.
second, rafts, remember R-A-F-T-S. So the second letter is A. Who are the attendees? Who needs to come to this meeting?
This is where shit gets so fucking real for people.
So stupid. It shouldn't be a lot of people. It's almost never a lot of people. You want as few people as possible in your meeting. Like Jeff Bezos had the 2 pizza rule or whatever at Amazon, where it's like if you have to order more than 2 pizzas to feed the meeting, then it's a bad meeting. I think it's probably less than 2 pizzas, to be honest with you. I think you want people who are going to contribute valuably, and not just to hear themselves talk. One of my problems with like when you invite people who are just like looky-loos is like they might have good ideas. It's like the whole like, oh, good idea can come from anywhere. It can, but it doesn't necessarily need to come from anywhere. Have the people whose job it is to come up with the idea, let them go beat the bushes. Let them go talk to legal. Let them. But once you get people in the room, there needs to be accountability. So A, attendees. So you got your R, the reason. Then your A, your attendees. The F, facilitation. Every
Mm.
meeting needs a facilitator. You can't let
Mhm.
them be free for alls because if they're free for alls, what happens? The loudest person in the room gets to like influence what happens in
Run
the
the
meeting.
meeting. Yeah.
You need a facilitator, and maybe it's a PM, and maybe it's someone from management. I don't care who it is, but it's someone
It's
whose
the
job it
owner
is.
of the deliverable.
There you go.
Whoever's presenting that deliverable is the team or the person responsible for running those
Love it.
meetings.
Yes. And so you have a facilitator who runs the meetings, who can clear bottlenecks, clear roadblocks, who can settle arguments, and who can keep the meeting moving so it doesn't turn into like one person special pleading for, let's do something with Olivia Rodrigo. Well, I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I get you like Olivia Rodrigo and you're very passionate about it and you talk about it a lot, but like maybe
Steve.
that's not the right idea. That's me, but yes. Okay. So RAF. R, reason for the meeting. A, attendees. F, facilitator or facilitation.
Mhm.
T, time. How much time do we need for this meeting? And it's rarely an hour.
No,
Sometimes it's
yeah.
2 hours, but often
Hell
it's
no.
probably 10 minutes. Like a brainstorm or a
Okay.
workshop could be 2 hours, but like if it's like, hey, actually, some of the best brainstorms I've ever been in have been like 20 minutes. Because what happens in a lot of brainstorms is you get a lot of faffing around. You get a lot of people just talking about stuff that doesn't really have to do with anything. And they think that what they're doing is like digging around in the depths of their psyche for inspiration, but that's rarely what it is. Usually it's just people complaining and kibitzing and taking a time out before they actually have to start thinking again. So the time, and I think the more compressed your timeline is, the better off you are. There's like a business law or axiom or something, and I might get this wrong, but I think it's called Parkinson's law, that
Mhm.
says that um, work expands to fill the time allotted to it. So if you say, we're going to take 2 hours out of our day and have this brainstorm, well, then that brainstorm is going to take 2 hours. But if you go, we're going to take 20 minutes out of our day and come up with 100 ideas, you could do that. You could easily do that. And you're probably
Mhm.
going to come up with better ideas than you would in 2 hours. Compression is helpful. Compression saves time. And I'm the champion of inefficiency. I love inefficiency, but not in meetings because it wastes people's days. Okay,
I think
hit
that
me.
works if people come prepared.
Well, 100%.
And a lot of times, especially on accounts where you're not getting a lot of lead time from
Yep.
like brief to
Yep.
that brainstorm, people are just finding out about the work like at that call
Let me hit you with this.
and go,
Don't invite people to meetings who aren't prepared for the meeting.
oh, well,
A- And if you invite people to a meeting, give them enough time to get prepared and tell them in the invite, oh my God, I will lose my mind when people send invites to meetings with no agenda. So remember back to the first bit of the raft, the R, that needs
mhm,
to go in
the
the invite
reason.
for the meeting and it needs to be
Mhm.
crystal clear. And that requires thinking. Okay, we've built the raft. We've got the reason, we've got our attendees, we've got our facilitation, and we've got our time. Do you know what the S is to turn this from a raft into rafts? Safety. Meetings need to be safe places
It's
because
not where my
people
brain is going.
people cannot be creative, contribute honestly and earnestly if they don't feel safe. So meetings have to be places where you're like free from judgment, where it's not a gotcha, where you're not
Mm.
walking in blind and where you've been given enough chance to prepare. Please subscribe to my podcast, which you're listening to. But I believe that the rafts approach to meetings
I mean, low
would
key,
save.
like I'm going to use this.
You should.
Like I'm shamelessly going to take credit for this and roll it
Yes.
out at work.
This is a creative bias product, by the way. So
Yeah,
if
like
you want more on how to have successful and productive meetings, hire us
there's
and we'll
your
tell you how to do it. Tell you all
yeah,
about the rafts model.
there's your freebie, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
I know you've been waiting with bated breath. There it is.
uh I f- rafts, baby. You got to get on that
Every shorty
raft.
needs a raft.
Every show needs a
I
raft.
thought the S was for shawty.
No, because um, sometimes I feel like in this podcast of ours, we veer into the unserious, and I thought about
For
like
sure.
putting in a kitschy little one, but I was like, no, because as the rafts model sort of coalesced and gelled in my brain, I was like, this is very useful, and people should use this model. Rafts. Like,
I
if you
agree.
get hired to a company, they should be like, guys, we use the rafts approach to meetings. You got to use it.
Yes.
We
I
need we
agree.
companies need to lean into IP of some sort. Steal it from me. I mean, steal it from
I'm
anyone.
100% gonna sell this in at work. Oh, that's tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I better let you get to sleep.
um, okay. I had feelings while you were talking
Okay.
about certain parts of it because I do think so a lot of times with process and ways of working as someone who's built multiple ways of working decks more than I care to divulge. A lot of times they're created like kind of like in an ideal situation or a vacuum. The reality of what you just outlined doesn't always hit. And
Mhm.
that's I'm not gonna say it's no one's fault. Sometimes it's someone's fault.
It's
We just don't
sloppy
wanna
fault.
say whose fault it is.
Yep.
And the work just needs to get done anyway.
Right.
And so now you have someone like me who's in charge of, like, setting up these meetings. understanding like how it's supposed to go, but balancing that with the reality of how it's going, which, you know, number one red flag, we're building the plane while we're flying it.
Yep. So two things. I agree with you that often the response and pushback to process is, we don't have time for that. And the reason we
Yeah,
don't have time for that is a failure of leadership. I once, uh,
I
this
agree.
is this is a while ago. I once designed a, let's call it a planning process of sorts
Mhm.
for someone I was working for, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Here's this process, and here's why it's good." And they looked at the process and they're like, "That's amazing, but we'll never have time to roll it out. When will we ever have time to do that?" And you know what I thought, although I didn't say, but I should have said, was, "We'll roll it out when you tell people we're rolling it out." Like, the
Oh, we did
leader
it.
has to do it.
It here's the thing. I only know that it's possible because I've done it.
Totally.
And
It's possible.
I
You
feel
know,
at a very successful degree a
it can be
leadership
done.
issue because
Yes.
it's a trickle down like anything else with leadership, it's a trickle down effect.
100%.
If leadership's backbone doesn't stack up to the client's backbone,
Yep.
we're always going to have a problem.
Totally.
And there's nothing that the people below you can really do to support that.
Yep. And I think I
Go ahead.
agree with that, and I think that what you just described is something that is very endemic to agencies, where
Mhm.
agencies can have all the culture and all the process they want, but the truth is that their culture and their process often gets suborned by their client's culture and process, and that is a different and slightly more difficult problem to manage. Not slightly more, it's
100%, but the way that you do it is you build the process together. Like,
yes.
you build a relationship with your client in so that you can have that
Mhm.
conversation with them. "Show me mine, I'll show you yours, we'll figure out how they can work together so we don't fucking keep running into the same goddamn problems
100%.
every 5 seconds over literally hundreds of thousands of dollars."
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's really what we're talking about, so that's why it, like, blows my mind
Uh-huh.
that people are just like, "Well, whatever. Oh, okay. Millions of dollars, that's fine."
I don't see any way, especially when you're talking about agencies, but like any organization, you sit in a meeting with 30 people and you just look around and go, that's 100 grand, that's 100 grand, that's 100. And you think about how expensive these fucking meetings are. We just need
Mhm.
to be more disciplined as leaders with how we run meetings, how we
I used
set
to think
meetings.
about that at school, and it makes me feel okay about that at work.
Well, yeah. Yeah. But if you're client side and you're
No,
like,
I'm
but we're
kidding,
spending
obviously.
my money. This is
Right,
my
right,
out of my budget. Like, what are we doing, guys?
right, until
Agencies,
they
it's like they
slash
built
it.
their business on that stuff. So
Mhm, mhm.
no, again, no shade to the agencies. We love y'all. Um,
Yeah, no, I don't think I also feel like if you work at one, we're not saying anything you don't know.
totally.
You just probably can't say
But
it at work, but
right. But
but
maybe
it's the
we're saying
reality.
something that you don't know that everybody knows, or maybe put it differently. Maybe we're saying something that makes you feel a little bit less alone, and like take faith in the in the knowledge that like this is a rampant problem, poorly designed, poorly led, poorly held accountable meeting culture, and it is probably one of the biggest drags on productivity in all of business. It's just how much time, and a lot of it is because people want inefficient meetings because it gives them places to hide
Mhm.
and it justifies their existence because they're, well, you know, I run this meeting every week, so they're not going to come fire me. And that again is a failure of leadership because leaders should be looking around and being like, is my team spending their time appropriately, efficiently, properly? And if
Or
not, then
even
you need
also,
to
am
change
I
things.
spending my time efficiently?
Oh,
Should I
100%.
be on this call right now? Don't I have an entire team of people who can tell me what happens on this call?
Right. 100%.
So,
100%.
like, I don't have to hear myself talk about it.
I
That's
feel like
also
this
just
is,
food for thought.
yeah.
Not specific at all.
I think that this is one of the more specific episodes we've done. By the time I'm finished editing, it will be. because there's a
So
lot of
sorry.
B-sides in this.
We've yapped a lot. I even ate Thai.
You did. And I think we
Sorry, I
got
didn't realize.
no, we got a fork on a knife clink in there. That'll probably get smoothed out. But I think that's a very tight, distilled, probably 30 minutes about meetings.
Mhm.
I am going to go now eat dinner. I don't know if it's Thai or what I will rummage up, but thank you for having this conversation with me. Yeah. Yeah.